Hey, good afternoon. Carl Rominger here, broadcasting live from 1000 North Prince Street in the Caldwell Banker Select Professional Building, also the home of Rominger Law Offices. So come on down. We're here at 1000 North Prince Street. You can drive down. We got hot dogs cooking out back. We got people in the lobby here for the show. And you can ask your legal questions. If you're a caller, it's 540-0580, 540-0580. So what we're going to do basically today is take your calls like normal. So if you have a legal question, you want to talk about custody, got a real estate question, today's a really good day to call in on that. We've got some realtors floating around, and I can always grab one and throw them on the air here to answer real estate questions as well. Mark Virgenis is here. He's going to help us with financial questions. So if you have a question that involves finances or anything along those lines, throw them on, and we will jump on board with those. Doesn't matter what you want to talk about or what you're thinking. Just come on in. Here we're 1000 North Prince Street live, so it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, if you get a chance, you can come down. And like I said, if you have a call, you just call 540-0580, and we'll get you here live on the air. So what else you guys want to talk about? Did you see the federal trial of the baseball player this weekend, or actually this week? Two prosecutors went in, and they disobeyed the judge's orders twice. So mark my words, what you're going to see there is a mistrial, and they're going to say it was prosecutorial misconduct. And we'll talk a little bit about that if you want to as well. 540-0580. Call in with your legal questions. Also, I wanted to touch base on the Casey Anthony verdict again. A lot of people have been kind of upset about that, and as you know, she's going to be getting out of jail, I believe, tomorrow. And there's an interesting thing I heard somebody say the other day. It's the only trial where most people leave the court, they enter the courtroom presumed innocent, and she left the courtroom presumed guilty, but not guilty. I thought that was a good way of saying it. But I did hear RJ actually talking about the other morning, and the idea that she should be able to walk around now with the benefit of that verdict, and we're certainly hoping that would happen. So if you happen to run into her, just treat her like anybody else. I wouldn't recommend her as a babysitter at this point. And I think we got our first caller coming up here. John, you're on the air. Hey, John. Can you hear me, John? Shane, I don't know if we got... You lost John. Oh, we lost John already. 540-0580. Call in and ask your question. Also, I've got Drew Deo from my office here, so if you want to talk to him about that limited tort, full tort thing we've talked about in the past, he's happy to take your questions on that as well, and I'll throw them here on the air. Again, we're broadcasting live from 1000 North Prince Street, so if there's any foibles in the show today, you're going to have to forgive me because I'm not at my usual computer desk with the golden microphone, the one that Rush uses, that actually is housed at the WHP 580 studios, little known fact. But nonetheless, 540-0580, and of course here, if anybody wants to ask a question live, they're free to come on in. And I've also got Paul Chase here, so I'm gonna grab Paul for a minute here. Paul, you're gonna have to make sure you talk right into that microphone because the second mic needs you. You left it. Bob Durgan used to tell me you eat the microphone, so just jump right in there. Paul, you've been doing a lot of work with short sales.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about what it is a short sale is and what a realtor can help with.
Well, what a short sale is where somebody can no longer afford their mortgage payment, or they can see that it's coming. What we do is we sell the house for less than what's owed and work with the bank so that they can remove the lien off the house, and we can get the people out from underneath their debt and save what's left of their credit.
And I think, let me ask it this way. Should I wait until the bank forecloses on me to get into a short sale situation, or is it something I should look at doing as soon as I realize I'm probably not going to be able to afford my mortgage payments going forward?
If you can see the handwriting on the wall and know that you're going to get to that point where you can no longer afford your mortgage, you need to be talking to somebody about ways to end that pain and get out from underneath the debt.
Now, if anybody out there wants to talk to Paul, get a question answered, you can come right down here to 1000 North Prince Street. We're going to be here all afternoon. We're going to be broadcasting live from 1 to 3. Of course, we've got the hot dogs, which Paul is in charge of, and I think he's doing a good job with those. But let me ask this, Paul. How would people, if they're just driving around or if they're at home and they want to jot down a number, how do they get hold of you here?
The best way to reach me here is give our office a call at 753-8400.
And that's for Coldwell Banker Select Professionals. Just ask for Paul Chase. And, of course, you guys have a huge team of realtors who can help people throughout the mid-state. My understanding is you guys have offices basically from Reading to Hanover, Harrisburg, Camp Hill, Lancaster, and more.
We've got, there's Lancaster, Lebanon, one or two offices in York, Hershey, Camp Hill, Hanover, and we're getting ready to open an office up in Reading.
Okay. So basically, you guys have the whole central Pennsylvania market covered if somebody does need a short sale or actually just a realtor for any purpose.
Definitely. We can, if you're buying or selling a house in central PA, we can help you out.
And, you know, I've actually co-located our Lancaster office right here in your building, so hopefully we're going to be doing a lot of work together. So if anybody has a question for Paul or any other legal question you want answered, 540-0580. Let me quiz you a little bit, Paul. What did you think of the Casey Anthony verdict?
I was a little bit surprised. I think I was more surprised at the public's reaction over it.
Yeah, that was, well, there seemed to be a lot of outrage, but a lot of people think that was generated by the media itself by basically convicting her. Nancy Grace basically convicted her on air for the last 3 months. And I think anybody who just caught the news coverage would have to be under the impression she was so obviously guilty that they would be shocked by the verdict if they'd followed that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't follow it really close. Was more
you had like important things to do. You were busy like selling people's houses and things. You just didn't sit in front of the television all day.
No, I was actually working for my clients and trying to help out, and also just completed my designation as a real estate divorce specialist. So I've been ramping up that and working with divorced couples, trying to help them make some right decisions at the most crucial time.
Divorces and real estate transactions.
Yeah, I took an extra class on working with not only the people in divorce but also their attorneys. And because when somebody's getting a divorce, the house is usually about 60% of the marital assets that have to be divided. And when somebody's emotionally charged up and really wants the house, what we try and do is work with them to make sure that, A, they can afford to take on that debt. Because nothing is worse than divorcing your spouse, but not divorcing the debt that goes with it and all the expenses that go with a house.
Actually, that's a very frequent situation that we run into as attorneys. I find that quite frequently I don't have the ability to counsel people to stay in the home, but they really want to, and it becomes a sticky situation. And I'll give you a typical example. I have a client, they have 4 kids. They need to really get out of the house, but they don't want to move the school district, and they're not sure if they're going to be able to make the mortgage payments, and they don't know if there's going to be an alimony award. So I know it's just a terribly complicated situation.
It is, and one of the things that we've been working on is doing, if somebody wants to keep the house, we work with mortgage professionals to make sure they can afford it, and one of the hardest things to do is how do you get the ex-spouse off the mortgage?
All right. Well, Paul, I want to talk to you a little more again this afternoon and bring you back on. I'm going to go into break now. I just want to let people know that R.J. Harris is actually going to be stopping by. So if you got a chance, come down. I mean, if you're driving around, come to 1000 North Prince Street here in Lancaster. Get a hot dog. 540-0580 to get it answered on the air. I'll see you after the break. We're back. 540-0580. If you have a legal question, call in. Get it answered here on the air. As you guys know, I'm an attorney here in the Mid-State. I answer questions every Saturday from 1 to 3. Don't know what you want to ask me about, but it's a legal question. You just call 540-0580, and we'll get it answered here on the air. I see R.J. Harris walking around down here, just so you know. He is officially here. We're at 1000 North Prince Street here in Lancaster, broadcasting live. We've got hot dogs cooking. And Cliff, come over here. I know you got a good question about Roger Clemens, and I kind of touched on it, but I want to talk about somebody who follows sports a little better than I do. All right, this is Cliff. You're one of our listeners.
Listener and Facebook friend. How are you doing, Carl?
Good, man. Hey, we're live on the air, so what did you want to talk about? You wanted to talk about Roger Clemens?
Well, yeah, 2 things. First of all, when it comes to Roger Clemens, how much trouble are the lawyers, the federal lawyers, in for screwing up the case as badly as they did? It's almost like it almost comes across to me as that they threw the case so that they could get rid of this thing like that. So, I mean, are they going to be? Can they get fired, or can they get a board of whatever there is?
The disobeying a judge's direct order In the heat of trial, if you do it once, somebody might say, well, that wasn't very ethical, but we understand it's the heat of trial and you just kind of goofed up. But they I believe twice, disobeyed him willfully. He had made it very clear to them that they couldn't admit. And what was the evidence that they were seeking to admit? You understand?
It was hearsay evidence, basically that Andy Pettit's wife had remembered or had testified that Andy had told her that Roger Clemens had done steroids. And that was put in a presentation that they'd given at the opening of the trial. And Hardin didn't object to it at first, and then after the judge stopped the tape and said this wasn't inadmissible, then they said at first that the lawyer for Roger Clemens didn't object to it, so there shouldn't have been a problem.
Right, and of course the answer is the judge told them not to do it, and I guess object or not object, once a judge tells you not to do something, got to be very careful. And they are in trouble. It's potentially a violation of their professional ethics. It certainly is not going to keep them in the good graces of that courthouse and that judge if they have to go back in another day.
Plus all the money that they've spent to.
Oh, you mean the taxpayers' money?
Yeah, the taxpayers. Your money, my money. Obviously, you're more money than my money, but.
Well, you never know. But actually, they spent just your money on that trial. They actually,
well, then they only could afford one lawyer at that point, so.
And no, in all seriousness, the other thing that they did was create a potential double jeopardy issue, because anytime prosecutorial misconduct creates a mistrial, the defendant can claim that he had his trial, he was trying to have his fair trial, he wanted his fair trial, and the government forced him into a mistrial, and therefore they should not be allowed to retry him a second time. So my legal diagnosis is there's a very high chance that Roger Clemens will walk a free man. He won't get his day in court, so to speak, because he's going to argue that the government took it away from him, but they're going to lose their chance to re-prosecute him most likely.
Well, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. If the
Eat that microphone. You got to eat the mic.
Okay. If the federal lawyers come in and say that this was just an honest mistake, and this was just something that one of our clerks did, and we actually didn't review it, and we didn't know about it, and it was coming up that way, do you think that would be enough for the judge to say, okay, let's go on with a second trial?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Courts don't like to let defendants go because of a technicality. Despite the word on the street that you can just get away with a crime because of some legal technicality, courts try not to allow people to go free on technicalities. Courts want the jury process to work. That's a firm belief in our system. But the reality is, even if they were negligent, the judge is going to weigh out not the level of their wrong conduct per se, so much as its effect on the fair trial. And the fact that he had to declare a mistrial means that he may say that was sufficient to create a mistrial, and the conduct was not innocent enough in its nature, or at least you're going to tell me that you're taking in one of the highest profile sports trials of the day, and you didn't know what was in your presentation. I don't believe you, therefore it's over.
I don't believe that they to me this looked like it was just a setup, and that they wanted to discard this thing and get him out, so they didn't want to have to prosecute this in the first place, and it looked like somebody higher up might have said, hey, you got to do this. It's not something that you might not want to do, but you have to do anyway. So
and frankly, that may be a situation where the government might have said, gosh, we don't really want to lose this trial, so if we force a mistrial, we can claim that the judge stopped us from serving justice, and everybody walks away happy, in quotes.
He did do air quotes there. That's good.
Yeah. Hey, thanks very much for your question. I'm going to try taking a caller here. Mike, you're on the air.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, what's your question?
There's going to be a water and sewer system put in for 5 houses that are in my small community, and I guess one of my concerns is, number one, nobody of the 5 houses even needs a septic system, and I guess basically what I'm asking is, is there any way to slow this whole process down or get rid of it completely?
The answer is, if your township supervisors or borough council or whoever it is has decided to put this in, Pennsylvania law allows them to do it and create a mandatory tapping situation. And so, by operation of law, they will succeed. Your only real solution is political, which would be to get them to back down on it. Now, if you can, the other problem is if there was a installation. This is going to be based on some plan that they must have passed at one point, and if 30 days have gone past since they got that plan approved, you lost your appellate period on the plan itself. So any attack you would try to make at this point would be collateral legally and unlikely to succeed. So your best solution is political.
If I was to file suit against them, could I slow the process down?
Well, let me explain it this way. Maybe, but by filing a lawsuit, you may also be filing what we call a frivolous lawsuit, meaning if I looked at it and couldn't determine any possible way that you could win, then I might have to conclude that the lawsuit was frivolous. So we'd have to look at it very carefully, but the short answer is I'm aware of people who have filed such lawsuits and found themselves in hot water because of an argument that it was frivolous. You really have to be paying attention to what you do. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question. There's the supreme law of the land, which is our Constitution, which was made up by our founding fathers, correct?
Last I knew.
And they're not really allowed to make laws that go against the supreme law of the land, are they?
Well, the Constitution allows the government to take your property. In fact, the Fifth Amendment says they can take your property with due process and just compensation. So to the extent that they want to put an easement through to put a sewer line on, and to the extent that they want to take some of your money to tap, yeah, I think they do have the authority.
Even though it violates your liberty and pursuit of happiness?
Well, theoretically, people could make that claim about a lot of different laws. In other words, there's a lot of things that a lot of us would like to do, and I'll give you an example. I don't smoke marijuana, but there are a lot of people in the country who would like to smoke marijuana, and they think they enjoy it, and they would like it to be legal, but it's not, and there's no constitutional right to smoke marijuana. Same being, there's no constitutional right not to have your land taken or to have it, as long as you get just compensation. So my point is, no, I think it's a well-established fact of law for the last from before the founding until now that the municipality can force you into this. All right, John, or Mike. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mike. I think you're out of options. All right, we're going to take another caller. John. Do I have John?
Yes, hi.
Hey, John, what's your question?
Hey, I have a question about credit reporting. I'm in the process of trying to get my credit cleaned up here, and I do have a thing on my credit report. It's a legitimate report, but the problem is it looks like it's reported twice by two different agencies. One is the original lender, and the other one is looks like the collection agency. And I was wondering, can that be reported that way? Because it's only one debt, but it's being reported twice by two different financial institutions.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but my suspicion is that no, it's only one debt, so it should only be reported delinquent by one person.
Yeah, I did contest it. I wrote in the letter and everything, and some of the things were deleted or taken care of. But this one here, they said it is being reported legitimately, and I don't see how.
No, particularly if one person bought the debt from the other. Now, I guess they could show one account as closed and delinquent and the other one as open and delinquent. That might be permissible. You know what? I don't know the answer off the top of my head. Can you post that on weekendappointment.com?
Yeah, I can do it this afternoon, actually.
All right, perfect. Put that on there, and we'll try to figure it out.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Hey, by the way, next time we're broadcasting live, come down and get a hot dog.
Well, I'm here in Harrisburg. It's a little bit of a drive, but...
Yeah, I know. What we'll try to do is we'll try to move it around. We're down in Lancaster this time. Maybe next time we'll do Harrisburg, and try to just move around. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Enjoy your show. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, if you have a legal question, call 540-0580. I'll answer it here on the air. We're going into another break, but I want to remind folks we're down here at 1000 North Prince Street in Lancaster, broadcasting live. You can stop in and grab a hot dog. R.J. Harris is bumping around. He's here in the flesh. I'm going to pull him in on the air here maybe in a little bit. But when you get a chance, drop by 540-0580. I'll see you guys after the break. Eat that microphone, RJ. I hope you know that.
What's that?
I said you got to eat that microphone.
I heard you say during you eat that microphone. Get Rollinger. Do you hear us in the morning?
Oh yeah. I listen to you.
Rollinger on the phone.
I listen. I have my car soldered to WHP 580, right? Because it's the best station ever. They let me on the air. I mean, why would I not? 540-0580 if you have a legal question. Hey, I got R.J. Harris. He was actually here. What were you doing in Lancaster today?
We were really on the air just now. I didn't.
Oh yeah, we're on the air.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're live, R.J.
The Americans for Prosperity have a running on empty tour, talking about energy and how screwed up energy policy is in America.
I noticed that. Is that why my gas costs $15 a gallon?
Without a doubt. And it's not going to get better until we stop wishing and hoping and enact an energy policy. And as you know, I go out and do my R.J. Harris for President spiel and have for a couple of years. That's number 2 on the list. Yeah. I mean, that's how important it is. It's number 2 on the list. So.
And you would like, I have a friend back home that I hunt with. He's an old farmer, and he wants them to build a windmill on his land, you know? Mm-hmm. And he says, other people say, not in my backyard. I say, build it in my front yard. He's got gas wells on his property. He wants to build and he says, we need it. It works. Mm-hmm. But the idea is even windmills can't get built because the environmentalists, the same people who told me for the last 30 years that if we only had windmills, all the world's energy problems will be done. They're the ones who don't want them built now because they killed a bird or something.
Well, there are a couple of reasons, and I agree with you. The environmental extremists, because I'm an environmentalist, you are too.
Yes.
As a hunter, I know you are.
Absolutely.
I know the appreciation you have for the land. The environmentalists want us to do nothing. Now, the wind is a great example, and there are a couple of reasons. One is the absurd thing that it kills birds, but the other is the Kennedys didn't want them off Cape Cod. Or on Cape Cod because of the looks. So there you have the biggest leftists in the world. They didn't want them. They didn't want them off Cape Cod, the environmentalists. But here's the other thing. I said way back, they won't want acres of solar panels either. So what did they do? They enacted law to keep solar panels from the Mojave Desert because they didn't want to screw up the pristine desert. They don't want anything. You're 100% right.
And, well, the problem is there's also some idea, you know, like, people's perceptions and the way people's minds work. And I'll give you an example. If I told you that somebody dumped 100 million gallons of raw sewage into Lake Erie, people would be like, that's horrible, it's terrible. The answer is it happens every day because the sewage systems get overwhelmed in cities like Buffalo and Cleveland. And nobody cares because it's not really an environmental problem, but the way our minds process information. So when somebody says they're going to drill on 50,000 acres here or a million square miles of land in Alaska, that's really a drop in the bucket. I mean, the actual impact of where the wildlife lives and how much little area we actually need to utilize.
Right, I understand that it's 5 to 10 football fields that we're really talking about in Anwar.
Yeah.
And that it's a mud field much of the time.
Right. So, besides doing that, what else are you going to do while you're down here in Lancaster? You get one of our hot dogs here?
I'm going to have a hot dog. I came by. I was excited to come by and see you. You probably know I talked about it quite a bit on the air. Because first of all, I love the show. I hear it every week without fail, and I'm excited that you have 2 hours. I really am.
And I really appreciate that you guys gave me 2 hours. I feel like that gives me a little more time to maybe develop, maybe get some more guests on and do some things that with an hour we have so many callers. And of course, I got a couple waiting right now that I probably.
Yeah, well, we get to them, but let me just say this: I also love the fact that you're a hunter and all that. And I haven't hunted in years, but I'd love to go hunt goose or duck with you sometime. I was a pretty good pheasant hunter.
You know what? Goose is a really good one. You'll like that. Basically, we stand around and eat munchies, and then when we see geese, we jump into our little blinds and have fun. Oh, Holly loves writing secret notes.
He's going to maybe get an iPad.
I'm getting an iPad, yes.
Oh, you're getting one, too.
I think you guys should go together.
Oh, you think we could get our iPads together? We should go shopping together.
Yeah, there's no discount involved.
By the way, if you're a Facebook friend of Holly Loves, RJ says you should defriend her, and I'm not sure why.
No. I'm just trying to encourage her. But I am up to something like 1,670, so.
I have more Facebook friends than both of them. Ha, ha, ha.
I don't doubt that either. You do have a lot of posts on
Well, but I'm younger than you, too, and that makes it more Facebook-enabled that way.
Okay, well, I'll go with that. All right. So, it's good to see you. Don't ever change. Let's have your people call my people.
I will.
I know you have people.
I have people, that's right. Your people and my people sometimes are the same people.
Sometimes they are.
Hey, John, can I get you on the air here?
Carl, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. What's going on, brother?
I have a question. I sit on the board of directors as a non-officer of the board, for a not-for-profit. The not-for-profit is currently going through charges of potential embezzlement and
Okay.
also going through sexual harassment allegations against the company or not-for-profit organization. As a board member, if the board has not acted in due diligence based on past complaints, am I liable as a board member?
The short answer is I don't think so. The long answer is it's a possibility. And that's something where I'd have to sit down and look at all the potential facts. Here's the answer. I need to sit down with you and go over stuff we couldn't go over here on the air. I really probably need to see you in the office to answer this one. But the short answer is, as a general rule, you probably don't have any personal liability. But I would want to know a little more factually and stuff I just can't ask you here.
Do I go to the state regarding this for protection, or do I go directly to an attorney like yourself?
I would come see someone like me to get started, and then if we can find somebody that could, some other source of protection, we might jump on that. But the long and short of it, there's a guy in my office, Steve Schneider. Steve's got a lot of experience with running organizations. In fact, we just helped, or we're in the process of helping a gun group get their not-for-profit status, and Steve's doing that, and he's pretty familiar with the law in that area. So I would want you to sit down with Steve in my office.
That'd be great. I'll definitely call and make an appointment.
Yeah, and the consultation will be very reasonable, and trust me, it's worth it for the peace of mind.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, and at this point in time, we can resign our chair at any time.
Yeah.
On this board, and I'm actually in the process of going to resign that next time around, our next board meeting.
Yeah.
I don't want any association with this.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to see Steve even before you do that and see if there's anything special you want to do to, even add some further protection. All right, my friend. Sorry I don't have a better answer for you. All right, brother. Take care. 540-0580 if you want to join in. We're down here at 1000 North Prince Street in Lancaster. You should just stop it. If you're driving around and you're anywhere within 30 miles of us, just trip down. We're going to have hot dogs. We've got peanut chews because Holly Love decided that peanut chews are the best thing that on-air personalities should eat while they're talking. She heard me say her name. She's walking back over. Bill, do I have you there, Bill?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, brother, what's going on?
Okay, got a question for you regarding townships' ability to mandate trash collection. Now, this is like a four-pronged question or a three-pronged question. The first one is, how do I want to say it? What gives them the ability to mandate who you utilize for the service? Okay. The second one is that they I guess did it under the guise that it would mandate recycling. Okay.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the trash service that they have employed or selected does not do the proper sorting of the different materials. Number one, they don't even collect newspapers. Okay, so how much recycling is that? The second thing is what they do is they put all the glass in one container. Okay, anybody that knows anything about recycling glass, which is great. I mean, it saves like 80% of the energy. Okay, so it is truly one of the most beneficial means of recycling. But when you combine the colors of glass, it is no longer able to be recycled in that manner. So they're not recycling, but yet they're forcing this upon people. Does there have to be a mechanism that you can opt out of their service?
No. I know years ago I had a guy that had a similar issue, and he's very upset about mandatory trash collection in his township. And the answer is there's enabling statutes, just like with sewer and water and other utilities, to have a township create a mandatory utility, or in this case, mandatory trash collection. As for the recycling, are you sure they're not recycling? They're not sorting the containers later, the glass later?
Well, again,
but I do.
You can't. When they just take it and they dump it into a big bin, so it breaks, so it's impossible to sort it.
The portions that are broken, I'm sure they probably can't sort. My understanding is a lot of these facilities do actually, and there's a great job you can get where you actually sort the recycles, which is my garbage, and I take out one bin, for instance, where in Carlisle, where I am, with everything in it, but they take newspapers and magazines as well, and they just dump it all in one big truck, best I can tell, and then sort it out later. I don't know what the answer is on that, but I do know they can require it. You just still always have the political solution available to you, which is go to your township and say, listen, if you guys claim you want to have recycling, let's have real recycling and get us a contract that involves real recycling.
Yeah, I mean, the question I have is why isn't the local newspaper or the television company all over this? Because they're just not.
Well,
additionally,
well, and
they have like a one-size-fits-all thing. Well, when you're getting your own, you have the ability. I mean, I'm one person. I'm not generating any trash. Plus, I'm recycling, so my output is minimal. I don't need.
No, I know, and well, but now you're starting to sound like my clients who don't want to pay their school taxes because they don't have kids, and I feel their plight. All right, my friend, that's the short. Now, I will say, you may not got in the newspaper that you did get on the air with me.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, brother.
And what you're saying is that they do have the right to force that
I think they do, yes. But what township is it that needs to get their recycling act in order? Give me a name so we can yell at them. Hempfield, fix your recycling. Actually recycle what you claim you're recycling. You've heard from Bill now. We'll be following up. Maybe we can get Bergen on it.
Let's get the newspaper in Channel 8, GAL, okay? All right, thank you.
All right, brother, you take care. Hey, we're broadcasting live from 1000 North Prince Street here in Lancaster. If you want a hot dog, if you want to eat a bun, we actually have those with the hot dog, so it's a classy operation. If you're on a low-carb diet, we'll probably just give you the hot dog if that's what you want. So come down to 1000 North Prince Street here in Harrisburg. We're going to be broadcasting live until 3. I'm going to hang around for a while afterwards, so we can chit-chat. If you want to ask a legal question in person, a few people have already done that. We've been able to do that as well. All right, I'm going to go to my last break for the hour here, and when we come back, we'll keep taking your calls and questions. 540-0580. All right, guys, 540-0580. If you have a legal question, call and we'll get it answered. In the next hour, when we're back up, because remember, we're a 2-hour show now. When we're up on the next hour, oh, gosh, there comes Holly Love's cell phone. She's calling. She left it sitting here with a show clock on it for me, and it's ringing. That's what was going on. 540-0580. When we come back in the next hour, we're going to have Mark Virginis talk with us a little bit about the debt ceiling and how long it takes to rack up the current debt and what that might mean for our future finances. For those of you just joining us or just tuning in, we're at 1000 North Prince Street broadcasting live. So if you want to come on in and join the studio audience, you want to eat a hot dog, we're down here and you can do that. So in all seriousness, come on down 1000 North Prince Street. And Mark will be talking with us in the second hour. So hopefully we can get a feel for where the markets are headed. I know that my good friend Glenn Beck thinks gold is headed to $5,000 an ounce. At least that seems to be suggesting on his show. If that's what happens, I'm really upset about it because I don't have any gold. I might be able to find like a filling or something, and maybe it'll be worth like $10 at that point. Also, we talked about in the last hour the Roger Clemens trial. And I hope that you heard a little bit about that. We were just talking about how there may have been a prosecutorial misconduct which will result in double jeopardy. Notice there doesn't seem to be any public outrage about that, which is contrasting with the Casey Anthony matter. But if you have a legal question, you want to get it answered, you can come down here to 1000 North Prince Street where we'll talk to you live, and you can jump on the microphone, or we'll take your calls, 540-0580. And, of course, as always, you can go to weekendappointment.com and post your question. And if you want to look up our law firm, you need to hire us, you go to romingerlaw.com. I also want to let you guys know, we actually put our Lancaster location right here in the Caldwell Banker Select Professional Building. So if you need a realtor anywhere in central Pennsylvania, I like these guys. Obviously, we're living in the same building together. And they have a very good, comprehensive program. Their realtors are very professional. They had me attend one of their meetings just recently where a bunch of the agents were there. And I can tell you it's probably one of the most enthusiastic and professional groups of people I've seen in a long time. And I'm very, very impressed by everybody in this operation. So if you get a chance, you want to buy or sell a house, I'm endorsing Caldwell Banker Select Professionals. And I say that sincerely. And again, they're just very nice people. You heard Paul Chase a little earlier answer some questions on short sales, but they do all kinds of transactions. They sell houses that range anywhere. You know, one of the agents was talking about selling somebody's beat-up old garage on a little lot, all the way up to $1 million homes. So these are the guys you want to talk to, whatever share of the real estate market you might be in. Reminder that our talk line number is still 540-0580, and even though we're live today, we're still taking your phone calls, so don't forget that. If you have a legal question, you may live a divorce, if you had a car accident, we do a lot of personal injury work in my law firm, and we're often able to answer that. We've also got Vinny and Drew down here, Eric David from the office. So if you want to meet some of the lawyers, everybody's here. And, of course, if you were listening a little earlier, you know, R.J. Harris is about. He was down here in Lancaster running for president again. And apparently that was going pretty well for him. I hear that he is polling just below Mitt Romney at this point. So cross your fingers and maybe we'll get a local boy in the White House. What else did I want to talk to you guys about? Well, I was supposed to be in trial last week, and that got continued off. And I wasn't sure if that was actually going to go or not. And, of course, the client looks at me and says, why can't I have my trial? And I say, well, I guess we're not ready, meaning I'm not ready, the DA's not ready, and a lot of people want quick resolution to their legal problems. And one thing you're going to find out when you get involved in the legal system is it takes a long time for both sides to get ready, and the bigger trick is for both sides to be ready at the same time, and then for the judge or whoever else is involved to be ready as well. And that led to a discussion I was having with a CPA the other night about, he said, how efficient do you think the legal system is? And I said, it is probably the most inefficient system when it comes to getting the job done. But we're very fair and we're very good, I think, at the end result here in America. But when it comes to the costs and the efficiencies, we're about the worst thing out there. Dorothy, you had a question on DUI.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey. I have a question just about DUI. Is it mandatory that you have to give blood?
Oh, very good question. Well, in Pennsylvania, we have something called the implied consent law that says that when you are driving, you have implicitly consented ahead of time to give blood, breath, or urine at a police officer's request, as long as that police officer has some reasonable basis to make it of you. So the answer is yes, you do have to take the blood test, you do have to take the breath test, you do have to take the urine test if asked. Now, you don't have to take the portable breath test roadside. That's special. The portable breath test, or PBT as it's often called, is not mandatory, nor are field sobriety tests, nor is the requirement to answer any other questions for the officer in any arrest or detention situation. How's that help, Dorothy?
Yes, it does. I wasn't sure about if you had to give the blood. If you already have the blow, they had done that out in the field. If
that's not enough. The portable breath test, in fact, is not admissible in court, and you don't have to take that one. The blood test is mandatory under the implied consent law. You don't have to take it. If you don't take it, the penalty is that enhances your DUI. And there's an additional civil penalty where PennDOT will take your license for at least one more year, whether you were DUI or not. So I've had clients who were not guilty of DUI but refused for whatever reason initially to give the test. And even though we can later prove they weren't DUI or we can prove they weren't driving, PennDOT still gets to take their license under the civil requirement that they submit because the officer had a reasonable basis, just that his reasonable basis turned out to be wrong.
Okay. So if you're not aware of that law, it's still a penalty against you.
Ignorance of the law is not a defense, ever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem. Guess what? There's so many laws out there that nobody knows all of them.
Exactly. All right, well, thank you very much for your help.
All right, Dorothy, thank you. Steve, you're on the air.
Hi. Good afternoon.
What's going on? Yeah.
I have a question on an inheritance issue.
Yes.
If you were to inherit a property, a building, whatever, from a sibling that was valued under $1 million or even $200,000 in this case,
right,
would there be inheritance tax on it?
Well, the estate will have to pay inheritance tax, yes. If the estate doesn't pay it, then the person receiving it's responsible for it.
So a sibling is different than a parent.
Yes. Well, let me put it to you this way. There is tax between parent and child, and there is tax between siblings. There is not tax between husband and wife. Technically there is, but it's 0%. But between siblings, I think you're going to be at 4.5% off the top of my head.
Okay. Then that opens another question. I was under the impression that if an estate was valued at less than $1 million for children to inherit, that there was no inheritance tax.
There's no federal inheritance tax on an estate that size, and $1 million used to be a federal cutoff. Now it's $5 million.
Okay.
But there's always been state inheritance tax.
Okay, so it's the state always gets the money, and
and the short answer is if you have an estate, you should always get a lawyer involved. I get so mad at people. I spend so much time trying to clean these things up after somebody goes to the courthouse, opens an estate, thinking that they're going to just simply transfer some property around and move some bank accounts around, and then the next thing they know, they didn't file their tax return, they didn't pay the right guy the right money, they didn't get clearance letters for charities, blah, 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 blah. So get a lawyer involved if you do have an estate action, and they can walk you through everything from A to Z.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, by the way, one other thing. There are things that are deductions, and I sometimes find that people pay too much inheritance tax because they don't realize the deductions they can take.
Okay.
All right, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, take care. John, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, John.
I want to ask a question about bankruptcy.
Yeah, what do you want to know?
I became disabled in September of 2007. Had to quit working. Some of my debt has been forgiven. Some of it is still trying to be collected. What would happen if I never file bankruptcy?
Well, if you never file bankruptcy, eventually they will come after you. They will file a lawsuit, and they will get what's called a judgment, and they can execute against you with those judgments. But we don't have a debtor's prison, so while the sheriff may come and sell off what few possessions you have left, you get to keep things like clothes usually and basic needs. We're going into our break, my friend. Can you hold till after the break?
Yes.
Okay, we're at 1000 North Prince Street here in lovely sunny Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so if you're within a few miles, you should drop in and grab a hot dog. And I will see you guys in the next hour.